Some U.S. public broadcasters quit Twitter this week after news labels wrongly implied their lack of editorial independence.
It's become a propaganda machine. It's already that in many countries around the world, and it's just further facilitating the misuse of it around the world.
Up next, what the future of Elon Musk's Twitter looks like. My conversation with someone who knows all the tech players, including Elon Musk. Journalist Kara Swisher joins me to talk Twitter, AI, politics, and more. You're watching Rosemary Barton Live.
How do you think it's gone?
Well, it's not been boring.
That's Elon Musk in an interview with the BBC earlier this week, a rare opportunity to hear directly from the new owner of Twitter.
The pain level of Twitter has been extremely high.
For Musk, that pain now includes media organizations quitting the platform after labels wrongly suggested how NPR, PBS, and the BBC were funded. Now, both NPR and PBS have stopped tweeting because they say Twitter's actions falsely imply they are not editorially independent.
As it relates to NPR, it is an independent news organization. That is clear.
BBC's label has now been updated to publicly funded media.
We're adjusting the label to be publicly funded, which I think is perhaps not too objectionable.
Kara Swisher has known Elon Musk since his early days in tech. She's now an editor-at-large at New York Magazine and the host of the podcast On with Kara Swisher and Pivot. I spoke to her about the future of Twitter, the rise of artificial intelligence, and intelligence leaks on social media. Kara Swisher, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start, obviously, by asking about Twitter and the labels the company has recently added on to news organizations, NPR, PBS, BBC, state-affiliated, government-funded, publicly funded, all these different ones. What is Elon Musk trying to do here? And then, I guess, how does he respond to media organizations quitting Twitter because of these labels?
Well, I think he's playing games with you. Obviously, he hasn't gotten to CBC yet. It's funny. He's just doing it just to tweak people and to bother people. What's really ironic is the most government-funded person I know is Elon Musk in Silicon Valley. He got his original loan for Tesla from the U.S. government. Of course, SpaceX gets enormous government money, and so do some of his other companies. In addition, there's all kinds of subsidies for electric cars for Tesla, along with the loan he got. And so he's pretty government funded, so he'd know a thing or two about it. But in general, he's just tweaking you, and I think he's trying to equalize things so he can let on Chinese and Russian sites in an equal way. And it's a strange thing to do, but that's what he's doing because he thinks everybody's a liar. So.
You mentioned the CBC. The Conservative Party leader in this country sent a letter to Musk asking that CBC be labeled government funded. What do you make of the fact that politicians feel like they can reach out to Elon Musk and make these kinds of requests?
I think it's become a propaganda machine. It's already that in many countries around the world, and it's just further facilitating the misuse of it around the world. And so it's not surprising. I would do that if I was a conservative, just trying to bother the CBC. But it's now become a propaganda machine, and so anything goes on it, and therefore you can't trust as much stuff on it as you used to be able to do.
So is there still value? I think you're still there. I'm still there, although not a whole lot. Is there still value there for you, do you think?
I spend most of it tweaking Musk himself, using his platform to tweak him. So I do that. Just today, there were 6 or 7 things. He did a lot of anti-trans stuff. He was wrong about a very serious situation of murder in San Francisco. He blamed it on the police, and it turned out not to be what he said it was. And so, the stuff around, every day there's something else. So I just use it to tweak him. So that's really my whole goal there. And I use it to market my stuff for free, and that's fine. I don't know if it helps or not, but that's it.
You've known him for a long time, since '99. How would you describe him now versus then?
Well, I just wrote an essay, a very short essay for Time magazine that I thought encapsulated that this is someone of great vision and great inspiration in many of his areas. I would say Tesla and SpaceX, very inspirational. That's the Elon everybody likes, right? Creating really interesting and challenging technology problems, solving them for humanity, and that's great. Elon Twitter, 2023 or 2022 and 2023 is really quite a troll. So it's a huge disappointment because here's someone with great potential wasting his time in creating a toxic waste dump. And I'm not sure why that is. And I can't explain it. I've interviewed him a lot of times. He's had this around the edges of his personality over the years, and I always ignore it, sort of the juvenile meme spouting troll kind of stuff. And he's done it for years, but this seems to have taken over his personality almost whole. And he's become a comic figure. He's doing lots of interviews now. I think he just wants to be the most famous man on the planet, and by saying whatever pops into his brain.
I'm going to switch topics if I can. There was another social media platform in the news this week, Discord. That's where this 21-year-old National Guardsman first leaked this classified information. How surprised were you to see that kind of intelligence shared on this social media platform? And what does it tell you about how the U.S. is handling these kinds of documents? It seems troubling.
Well, it's troubling for the U.S. government to, this has happened before with Edward Snowden. There's always a point of weakness, and it's usually one person. And this is very typical. If someone can get access to things and they have a certain mentality, they're going to do this. And so usually it's two things. One is if you decide to flip to the other side, you give the information to the Russians, for example. Another is you give it to the media because you're trying to expose something and you feel like it hasn't been able to get out. And this one is just, he seemed to want to impress his group of teen fans on a Discord channel, which is odd, and give them the right. He wasn't doing it to change anything or for any political reasons. He was just pissed that people didn't know stuff. And so he had this little group on Discord. And I don't know if you've ever been on there. I have a Discord group, and I don't use it that much. I just tried it out. It's a really, it's an easy place to share things. It's like message boards. Lots of gamers that was the initial part of it, but people use it for all kinds of things. And you could see why he would put it here, to create his own little audience. And obviously now he's going to jail, probably for the rest of his life, if he's convicted. And I'm not surprised that they're using Discord. It's where these people are and where these groups can convene. Reddit's another place. It's not quite as private as Discord is. You can have these individual groups that you can hide away from the world in, and it got out, as all information does in the end.
Want to ask you a couple questions about AI, if I have you here, because Musk has also warned that AI is one of the biggest risks to civilizations. Lots of people have cause for a pause in the development of AI. I have to say, when I read some of the things, it kind of freaks me out. Do you share concerns? Should we be freaked out? Should we be going slowly here?
It's funny. This has been going on for a while. I've just found several interviews I did with him in 2016 where he and I were talking about this end of civilization kind of thing. He's been doing it. I did one in 2018 where he declared the end of civilization. 19, 21. We've done 20 and 21. So he's been doing that a while, and that's why he started funding OpenAI, because he didn't want the power to be in the hands of individual companies. Right. I don't know. Is the internet at the end of civilization? It could be used for good or bad. So it depends on how it's used as a tool or a weapon. And I'm more worried about it being in the hands of big companies only making decisions for society, which reminds us of the internet, right? That it was a publicly funded, speaking of publicly funded, government funded technology that then got in the hands of the privates, and they made a mess of it. And for the most part, at the same time, it's been great, right? So I think there's a lot of different things, and there has to be government intervention in the development here and the control of this. A couple things that are important is some sort of regulation right from the get-go. The internet has no regulation on it. The second thing is there's liability here. And so that's good. With the internet, there was Section 230, and therefore nobody could sue these people for some of the problems they created. In this case, there's liability. And so that could help. And there are, people are aware of it, of the problems. That said, because we've been through it, that said, no one's going to take a pause on any of this. The Chinese aren't taking a pause. The Russians aren't taking a pause. We're not going to be taking a pause. It was invented in the U.S., so it's going to be an important part of development going forward in every aspect of life, not just and it's been used in radiology and places like that. It's like the internet. It will be everything.
I want to ask you one last question about the Dominion voting systems court case suing Fox News.
Monday.
It begins
Monday's
next week.
Fox News Day. Yeah.
You've covered it a lot. I wonder what is your impression of how that's going to unfold?
Oh, I don't know. I'm surprised that they didn't settle. I think they'll probably lose. The evidence is so overwhelming. And again, as someone in the media, it's not great that they've made such a mess that this is going to be a problem for all of us, I think. I don't think they're a news organization. I think they're a propaganda arm of the Republican Party at this point. From these, and I don't think that's an opinion when you look at the emails that went back and forth. The cynicism and the outright lying is so crazy here. And I think it's interesting because I interviewed the Dominion CEO right after the election, and this is before they filed the lawsuit. And it was very clear the damage that Fox had done to them. And I think the question is, what effect will it actually have on the company? It's going to be a lot of money, and then there's another one right behind it with Smartmatic. So it could keep Rupert Murdoch occupied for the rest of his life. He's pretty old. He's 92. These lawsuits, it will hinder it in that way. But Fox continues to be an important cable station here in the United States. So I don't know if it'll matter that much. They seem to have gotten away with it, but they're going to have to pay for sure. I think they're going to lose.
Kara Swisher, so nice of you to make the time. Really nice to chat with you.